Hi, I'm Ann Johnson, and I'm going to read your verses today. John 13, 1 through 17. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. During supper, when the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wash them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, do you wash my feet?" Jesus answered him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand." Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "The one who has bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you." For he knew who was to betray him, and that was why he said, "Not all of you are clean." When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought also wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant who is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them."
Jesus is the sovereign servant. We are walking on through this Holy Week, and now we have arrived at Maundy Thursday, a really holy and special time in the week that we are remembering during Holy Week. This feels particularly tender and intimate because Jesus came not because he had to, but out of perfect relationship in the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They had need of nothing. They were a perfectly happy, holy community, and they willingly chose to come and serve. And it was in the person of Jesus that happened. On the night that he gathered with his disciples at that Last Supper together, gathered around food, which is intimate. It's an intimate gathering, an intimate setting together. The reality is that he, in one of his final times before the events began to escalate from this point, he showed that he is the sovereign servant, that this is indeed what he came to do among us. And I'm struck from the verses that my mother-in-law read about how could he do this? And I'm aware of the words in verse 3 that says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and this is the part that I'm really thinking about, he had come forth from God and he was going back to God. It was about relationship. And so I'm celebrating that later in this chapter of John, he says, "A new command I give you, that you would love one another. We are loving one another from a distance right now, and though we are longing to be together, honestly, it is not changing the reality that this command that Jesus has given us to love one another, it is real among us, and perhaps is growing more and more real in our absence away from each other. So Jesus is the sovereign servant, and this is what he says. Final thought. He says, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. Peace of Christ to you.